Fratres and sorors, the Imperator of the Rosicrucian Order AMORC, Ralph M. Lewis.
Greetings, fratres and sorors. In mystical and occult circles, the silver cord, as the connecting link between the soul and the psychic body of man, and the cosmic or universal soul, has long been expounded. This silver cord is not, of course, a material connection between the spiritual nature of man and the cosmic. The word silver alludes to the white, scintillating nature which it manifests to all who have perceived it. Why does such a nexus or connection exist? First, we must briefly review some fundamental doctrines before we can hope to understand this interesting phenomenon. The soul is not a substance, but rather a manifestation which occurs within the human. Souls are not entities having any determinative qualities such as forms, colors, or other such physical characteristics. In fact, there are not even separate souls, contrary to the generally accepted orthodox religious viewpoint. The conception of separate or distinct souls arises perhaps from the diversity of mankind. Some men are perverse in character, others are noble and virtuous. The moral behavior of men, or the lack of it, has been attributed to their spiritual nature, that is, to the extent or kind of soul they have. It would seem then, to the average man, that it is a foregone conclusion that each soul must be as different as the moral behavior of men. The illogic of such thinking is apparent to any thinker. For instance, all men are imbued with that vitality which we call life force. Some men are of large stature and others are smaller. There are men whose color is fair and others who are dark-skinned. Some men are intelligent and still others are morons. Does this differentiation in men prove that the quality or nature of the life force in each man is also distinct? Is the life force in a Negro inherently different from that of a Caucasian or that of a member of the yellow race? We will agree, will we not, that life is only potential with such characteristics as racial differences. The essence of life is the same in all men. When life courses through human organisms and is subject to environmental influences, mutations occur in the organisms which cause their different physical appearances. These changes, however, do not affect the essence of life. The so-called souls of mankind are therefore a part of the one universal divine consciousness. It is a flowing of cosmic mind energy through human bodies. Soul essence is, therefore, like life force, the same in all men. It is a higher state of consciousness, of vibratory energy, to which the mortal mind or brain of man gradually responds. This response results in the realization of self. The more sensitive the human becomes to these immanent or indwelling impulses or impressions, the more he develops the manifestations of his soul. He is not adding anything to the soul by his response to it, for the soul has a quality to which nothing can be added or detracted from. Man can only adapt himself to it, and as he does, the result is a certain behavior upon the part of the individual, which, as it becomes objectified, we call personality. To better understand this relation of soul essence to the human body and personality, let us use an analogy. A room in a home, we shall say, represents the human body. It is a definite structure or form. The general atmosphere of the room, that is, whether it is dark, gloomy, its environs distinct, or whether it is light and cheerful, constitutes its personality. This personality of the room depends upon the amount of sunlight that is permitted to enter through the one window. The sunlight, we shall say, is the soul essence. If the shade over that window is almost completely drawn, causing a gloomy aspect in the room, most certainly we will agree that the quality of the sunlight is not the cause of the gloomy aspect. Is not the light the same in essence, whether the shade is fully up or nearly drawn? The personality of the room is a result of how much of the light we permit to enter it. Although the soul essence is not localized in the body, that is, it is not to be found in any one particular organ or section, but is resident in every cell, yet certain parts of our being are more directly in contact with its source, the universal soul, than are others. We are told in our Rosicrucian monographs, for example, that the physical body has its brain and spinal nervous system, which has direction over its functions. The psychic body, the whole soul essence, has the sympathetic nervous system as its principal link with the subjective or cosmic mind. As we know, there are various forces and energies working to us. The energies of the spinal nervous system, the lower vibratory rates of energy of the cells, which cause the mechanical function of the organs, have their principal plexus or controlling center in the brain. The consciousness of the cosmic mind has its centers of direction as well. These are principally the sympathetic nervous system and certain glands which we call psychic centers. Let us use still another homely analogy. A home is, shall we say, a complete organism. Through its function, several systems, such as the electric lighting, the telephone, the gas, water, sewage, heat, and the like. Each of these systems work independently of the other, but they have been also preconceived as to function together harmoniously. Each system has its own particular control or direction centers by which it is connected directly with its source. These centers are the main meters, valves, or switch boxes in the home. Our Rosicrucian monographs inform us that the psychic body, which in reality is the collective consciousness of the soul essence within us, is brought in touch with every organ, tissue, flesh, and all through the means of the sympathetic nervous system. The sympathetic nervous system is in contact with the spinal nervous system by means of short rami. This physiological connection is thoroughly explained and diagrammed in both the Rosicrucian monographs and in the Rosicrucian manual. These rami are short, slender, and delicate, but nevertheless important connections between the material organism and the psychic body. Also of importance in this connection of the soul essence of man with the cosmic mind is the thymus gland. This gland is located just below the thyroid and behind the upper chest bones. It has both physical and psychic functions. Physically, it inhibits the activity of the sex glands. This thymus organ, for it is in reality a small organ, is, as we are told in our monographs, a connection with the sympathetic nervous system. Before birth, the thymus gland is attuned to receive a certain amount of the cosmic energy, which it passes on to the sympathetic nervous system of the unborn child. By this means, the sympathetic nervous system is in direct contact with the cosmic soul energy before birth. By passing on some of the energy it receives to the sympathetic nervous system, the thymus gland keeps it properly attuned and ready for the sudden impulse and incoming of the first breath. The thymus gland, our monograph further relate, is really a gland that is intended as an intermediary between the unborn physical body and the cosmic soul essence in order to attract the soul. The soul essence in the embryo is of the mother rather than of the unborn child. Consequently, the unborn child has no soul personality of its own. That is, it is not able to respond independently to the soul force. The extension of the cosmic soul energy, the human organism or physical body, seems to be concentrated as a beam of light toward or upon an object. This extension may not be due to the soul energy actually being directed to the human in that way, but rather due to the centers of attraction in man which draw it to them. The thymus gland and the spinal nervous system may cause an effusion or an outflowing of this cosmic energy toward them, like the lines of force of a magnetic field. It is this which is perceived and which is referred to as the silver cord. Just before birth, it has been frequently noticed that a brilliant ribbon-like beam descends toward the abdomen of the mother. It is, of course, more or less indefinite. In a darkened room, it is a very brilliant at birth. We repeat, it is the thymus gland which is the center where the silver ribbon connects with the body before birth. At birth, the silver cord connects with the first breath and enters the mouth of the child. That the thymus has only an early physical and psychic function is evidenced by its diminishing during babyhood and its completely disappearing in a normal body before puberty. Our monographs explain that during all separations of the psychic and physical body, as during psychic projection of the consciousness, the only connection that is retained between the two is the silver cord, the link with the cosmic soul. This silver cord, this cosmic nexus, is never broken except when transition occurs. Once a rupture has occurred, nothing can restore the soul consciousness within the body. The silver cord is often seen to descend to the navel. It is for this reason that in the mystical writings of old, it has been called the cosmic umbilical cord. The solar plexus, or as it is more technically called, the celiac plexus, is in the region of the navel. The celiac plexus, however, is not a psychic center, but merely a reflex center for the emotions. Embalming or cremation does, of course, sever the silver cord. Immediate embalming or cremation should be avoided. A short period of time, from 3 to 7 days, should elapse before cremation is done, as explained in our monographs. With the last breath at transition, the soul consciousness is mainly free of the body. Because some of the cells may continue for a few hours after so-called death to be impregnated with this cosmic essence, the silver cord is not entirely broken off from the body. It therefore diminishes gradually and then is finally severed forever in this incarnation. Until the vital life force, which accompanies the soul essence into the body at birth, has completely left the cells of the psychic centers and the sympathetic nervous system, the silver cord, as a connection with the cosmic, is not entirely severed. This explains why some persons who have been pronounced dead from the physical point of view have often seemingly been restored to life. In such instances, the persons restored do not have new souls or even a new influx of the soul force, but a continuation of the same force which had not been completely severed from its source. So mote it be.